especially back in 2016. Oh, hey everybody, how you doing today? I'm really excited to be here. Welcome to the Fearless community. Tactical Tuesdays, amazing, and we just have a really great session on today. As most of you may know, it's registered fund season. You may be bombarded by advertisements, emails, where to put your money, and a lot of people have a lot of questions around this time. So super excited to be talking about how to use registered funds to help your real estate investing. So my name is Colin Ernst, and my wife, Nicole. We are Coast to Coast Homes Canada, and we're located in the beautiful eastern province of New Brunswick right now. We tend to move around a lot. It's not just a name, coast to coast. We have been coast to coast and continue to move. And I just want to welcome everybody. Yes. Hi, Angie. Come on in. Tanis, everybody. Great to see you guys. If you guys want to do some comments, there will be some, Jules will put up some links there to put your name on there. You click in there and then your name will appear next to your comment. Otherwise, I'll just say Facebook user, and that's totally fine as well. If you want to be anonymous, no problem at all in this great community that we have here. So welcome everybody. Say where you're from, all over Canada. I love it. Chris, yes. Vancouver, hello everybody. Yes, this is fantastic. I just love this community. Nicole and I have deep roots in here. We've seen a lot of people start, a lot of people grow and grow with us. It's just been fantastic, and we're super excited to be part of this community. And as most of you know, Corey and Tiffany, being fantastic people they are, and teaching everybody to be good humans. And that's what we are. We want to contribute where we can. And as I mentioned, this time of year is people are pretty RRSP season. Everybody gets it all thrown in their face, and they're like, wow, what does this mean? What can I do? I keep hearing about this in real estate investing. What does it mean? It's really intimidating. People tell me avoid it. Trust the banks, things like that. So we just kind of want to just give some information about that. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my wife and Coast to Coast Homes Canada. So we started investing back in 2016, and we just started like many people do, bought a single family home, legally duplexed it, pulled our money out, loved it, recycled it, bought another property, did the same thing. And then we kind of got introduced to some communities like this, and we learned about private lending. We learned about registered funds. And as soon as we were able to, we went in and did the hard work, walked through, called trust companies, went through everything, and figured out how to do the system, how to move our money over, what to say, what to do, and started investing with our registered funds. So we've been doing that ever since we started investing. And it's been fantastic to be able to see that grow and to really have control and see what your money's doing. And we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, everybody, thank you. It's a great community here. Everybody's jumping on. Julia, yes. So yeah, the topic today will be about how to set up your RRSPs. And I've helped family members, I've helped many friends and other fellow investors kind of get set up with it. And so we're going to have a guest on here. We're going to bring on Sarah Rotchford from Toronto. Many of you guys know her, love her, fantastic. And she's going to come on and she wants to know she has some questions about how to set this up and what are registered funds? What are we talking about? And I thought it'd be great just to have her come on, ask some questions. As many of you, we've gotten a lot of calls this week, even from really seasoned investors, just wanting to say, hey, like, things have changed in the climate, and we want to know how, like, what's this other avenue of funds that we can use, and how do we use them? What are the restrictions surrounding it? So we just kind of wanted to touch on that. There are nuances and things like that they should be aware of. But basically, I do have to stipulate that, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a tax strategist. We're just fellow investors like all of you. We've grown in these communities, partnered in these communities, worked together in these communities, and we've just, reached out, taught what we know, use our teams and things like that, just to really benefit ourselves and help to give back, as Corey and Tiffany are always teaching us. So we love to do it. And, I'm honored and humbled to be on here tonight to be able to talk about this topic. It's something that we're passionate about and use quite often. And a lot of people are just mystified by it. And we just want to clear the dust and say, hey, this is how we do it. And there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of other people doing registered funds, and the companies that we deal with in particular are fantastic to call up and talk to. And that's how we got started. So I'll bring on the wonderful Sarah, and we'll get right into it. And the format today is I'll just share my screen. I'm just going to show you where some of this information is that we get. Where do you find it? How do you navigate? Maybe the Olympia Trust website is a trust company that we use. And then just pop your questions in here. I'll try to scroll through here and we'll see how it goes. And feel free to ask your questions. And, we're going to go from there and we'll see where it goes. Hey, there she is.
Colin, how are
you doing?
I'm good. Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. I want to find out about all this RRSP hype because I'm the first to say I don't have a clue. So, and not having the knowledge kind of scares you away from it. And I know it's not as scary as what people or what I assume it is. So you're going to
a lot of people aren't sure about it. They just don't know. And I know in real estate investing, we're learning about a lot of these terminologies, a lot of these strategies for the first time, and it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. It's like, oh, I'm learning about a BRRRR strategy. Well, now the market's changed. Maybe that's not what I want to do. And how can I use other people's money? Well, how do I use this account? What do I need to do to set this up? So there's a lot of things just to kind of uncover here. And I'm here just to help you guys just feel a little more comfortable in it. And as always, Nicole and myself are always available to help the community reach out, message us, email us, and we can absolutely jump on a call and help you guys kind of walk through it. And, I think we'll go through some of the stuff with you tonight, and hopefully you'll feel a little more comfortable about it. And like I said, if you need any help afterwards, we can definitely go through and help you get set up. I've helped people set up their accounts online as well. And it's pretty straightforward, and the trust company we use has made it pretty easy to do. But there are a few little tricks of the trade that we kind of tell people to do to help move it along.
So I'll be running to the bank tomorrow.
Maybe. Yeah, why not? It is that season. So a lot of people, the first question people want to know is what are registered funds? I know it seems some people may, I know, but there's a lot of people that simply don't know what they are, or the benefits to what they are and how to use them and why we use them and what you can do with them. So when we talk about registered funds, a lot of people think about RRSPs. So registered retirement savings plan. That is the big one that everybody talks about. That's the one that some employers have programs with that you would enroll with, and then you would take they would take a little bit off your paycheck every month and kind of go into this RRSP. And maybe they buy company stocks with it. Maybe they do mutual funds, and people end up not knowing what they have. So when we first started real estate investing, one of the things was I would get this report every year, and I signed up with my company's program, and I'll get this report and I'll look at it, and it would just be like, I have no idea what I own. All these funds, all these different minerals, and I don't know. I was like, what is this? And I was pretty young at the time, and I was told invest in your RSPs early. So as soon as I could, I invested with the first company I worked with at a university. I worked for a year as a contractor, and I said, I used that to say I want to be a full-time employee. And my boss said, well, why? And I said, well, you guys they have an excellent matching program. I think it was 180% matching. I don't know if that exists anymore, but it was 180% matching. And typically they take a certain percentage, up to 2% or 5% of your income, something along those lines is a limit, and then they'll match. Over the years, that had been cut down significantly as time goes by. That basically goes into a registered an RRSP, and they manage it. So they typically have funds that they buy and they buy investments, and they hope that it's going to grow over time. And by the time I retire, I have this wonderful nest egg that we have here. So
I was just going to say, for me, RRSPs is set it and forget it. And then down the road, when I retire, I can take this money out and not have to pay so much taxes.
Yeah, so I'll talk about a few registered accounts that people may or may not know about. Another popular one is obviously the TFSA, the tax-free savings account. There's RESPs, so the Registered Education Savings Plan. You have spousal RRSPs. Some people have LIRAs, which is a locked-in registered account. And that just typically means when, if you're for an employer and you have a pension and you leave that employer, the pension is designed to give to you after your retirement. So they'll transfer that into a LIRA, which means you can't really access. You can access some, but not all of it, because they want you to help encourage you save for your retirement. There's a registered retirement income fund, and it's just kind of knowing what these all are. So a great source for everybody is just to go onto the Canadian government website. Go on there, look up registered accounts, and just read through them, and they all have different benefits to them. So a lot of people talk about like what's the benefits of an RRSP. So an RRSP essentially is an account that you're going to put money in. So it's an investment account. It's registered, means it's registered with the government. So it's usually linked to like your social insurance number. You have one, everybody else has one. And you can have your TFSA. They're all kind of unique to you. And then you can do spousal, which is another thing where you can put money into a spouse's account on your behalf. So you're allowed to do that as well. And basically RSPs have a limit of how much you can put into them. And it's typically the lesser of two values, which is 18% of your income earned in the previous year. Or there is a limit set by the government. I think it was 29,000 or so last year, and that's how much you can put in. The nice thing about it is it rolls over every year. If you don't use up all of it, then it rolls over to the next year and the next year, and you can. So, and your early years of working, if you're contributing and you're earning money, that can actually grow pretty big. And then when you have a windfall year or something, you have this big area that you can just kind of, hey, I just sold a property, investment property, I got $40,000. Oh, look, I have $80,000 of room in my RSP. You can put it in there. And what that does for an RSP, for people that don't know, is when you put it in there, it's a tax deferred account. So when you put money into there, it deducts off of that year's income, and then it goes into this account, and you don't pay tax on it now. It goes into the account, and the idea is that way down the road, when you're going to retire and you've been investing in compound interest over the years, this thing has ballooned up. And then when you go to retire, typically, you're going to be in a lower income bracket, and you're going to be drawing on that fund to live off of. And what does that number look like? It's completely up to your lifestyle of how you want to live, and you take that and do that. That's kind of the general idea behind using RSPs, is to save for your retirement, and it's tax deferred.
Yeah, and not so way down the road for me. So
exactly,
Colin, help me.
So that's kind of then they have TFSA. So the TFSA is like tax exempt. Like obviously you can't put your it's like post tax money basically. So I get my paycheck. I've already paid income tax on it. It sits in my bank account. Then I put it into a TFSA. And anything I earn in that is tax free. So if I make $1 million and I can take it out, I pay no tax on it. Whereas an RSP, you make all this money, but when you draw it, then you're going to pay income tax based on your bracket. So that's a tax deferred RSP, tax exempt TFSA, and then you have the education fund. If you have children, you can put money in there. The government does some matching for secondary, post-secondary education if you want to put them in university and things like that. So that's kind of that's just a general overview of some of these registered accounts and what they are. And like I said, there are others. Just go onto the Government of Canada website, just Google it, look it up, and you can kind of see contribution room. How is that? How do you see your contribution room in your RRSPs? Because right now is RRSP season. So a lot of people are like, what does that mean? So when you contribute to your RRSP, there's a deadline. I think it's March 2nd. It's like a March to March kind of deal that I can put up until March 1st or 2nd of this year. That will count towards my my taxes. So then I can put that against it and deduct my income and pay less taxes and get a nice, tax credit tax time instead of paying. So there are time limits for that. And again, it's all on the website for the Government of Canada. And when you do your taxes, when you get a T4 from your employer, you'll tell you how much you get to deduct. You do your taxes, your accountant does, and then you may get a benefit, you may get a tax credit or not. And then you'll be able to see on your tax forms your contribution room, and you'll see that it grows every year by the 18% of your income or this limit. So you can kind of use it, save it up, have a big pot if you want for that big windfall day when you want to throw money in instead of paying a lot of taxes. A lot of people use it for that. So looks really great for that. And let's just see here. So that's basically what I do for that. And then RRSP season, like I said, everybody's just trying to contribute now before the deadline. Why? To cut down their taxes. Okay, so that's, and the big banks just want your money to, yes. And they want it, I mean, they want it and they want to take it and invest it, but they get paid fees on every time they do transactions and things. So they can be hidden. Just ask about them and you'll see what you're paying. And a lot of people understand compound interest. How does that work? Well, yeah, I'm making 6% on my money and the bank's making 2% on their fees. And people think, well, I'm doing fine. But that 2% over 20, 30, 40 years, like it is, because it compounds, they just invest, and it becomes quite a bit. So just be aware of that too. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. They just look at the focus on the money that they're making and they don't see the money that they could potentially be making. So that is it. So I kind of went over TFSAs in terms of how they work. And all of these accounts are they're all eligible for investing in real estate. So I'll kind of get into that now by discussing about like private lending. And that's maybe a question you have. It's like, well, what is private lending and how does registered funds come into it? A lot of people understand cash. It's like, hey, I got some money. You have an opportunity. Here's a bank draft. Here's a check. We do if you do promissory notes, if you're doing secured, things like that. However you want to do your lending, cash is fine, but registered funds you can use. It just has some regulations and stipulations around that. So I'm just going to take a look here. A lot of people don't understand, like they know what stocks and mutual funds that you can have, like that's what people typically buy, but you can hold a mortgage. And people are like, what do you mean I can hold a mortgage? So that's where this private lending kind of gets into. And this is where the rules are. There's rules surrounding it there. So if I have an opportunity and you say I have some registered funds, what's the first step? The first step is for you to get your funds to an institution that will let you hold a mortgage. So it's called a self-directed account, where you get to choose what you want to invest in. A lot of banks will just offer certain things, and they don't allow you. The big five banks won't really allow you to hold mortgages in your registered funds. They do their own mortgages. So you have to find another institution that will help you. So the one that we typically use is called Olympia Trust, which a lot of you may know, based out of Alberta. And it's just an institution, a trust company that'll allow you to hold mortgages in a registered account. So the first kind of step to all of that is, well, how do I get set up with this? And it's just very similar to a bank. So I'll just share my screen here and you can kind of take a look at what, going onto their website, where to go, what to look for. And yeah, we'll just go from there and I'll kind of walk you through some of the stuff that you want to see there, Sarah. And you just let me know if you have any questions. So I just go onto the Olympia Trust website and they have this investment account services here. And this is kind of where we go. And on paper, they do have digital, you can online and go through it. There you go. And they'll have a little banner here, reduce their fees this year. So there are annual fees. Here you go. There are annual fees here, $150 plus tax to have your first account with them. So there is an annual fee associated with these accounts, and there is fees associated with holding mortgages and things that we can kind of get into. So you go onto their website here, and you can just say new client. I won't be able to do.
And cutting out on this call.
They'll be. And once you have your first
Colin?
the process here, you see you'll have to enter in your social insurance number. Okay, so you enter that in there, and that's basically that's why it's registered. Pardon me?
You're breaking up. I don't know if it's for everybody or it's just me. It was fine until you shared screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is that all right? Let's check my audio here. Okay. So this is essentially what you go on here, and then you would, let's get started, and you put in information. This is where I say it's registered, because you put in your social insurance number. You can open a cash account with these guys if you want to as well, but we typically just use it for registered funds because there are stipulations around what you can do with it. So you would fill all this information and register. And when you register, you're going to get an account set up. And then once you have your account number, it takes about 2 to 3 business days typically. You'll get an account number. And then once you have that account number, then you're able to go and move your money from your current institution into Olympia Trust. So I kind of just go into their forms here. They have a form section. Just go up here and they have forms and fee schedule. So it's all on here. It's very light reading. It's not that bad at all. A lot of people get intimidated when they come here and look at all the forms and say, go in here and say, hey, to TSA account. I want to open our registered account, RRSPs, whatever it will be. You click on here and go through the forms. And I just brought it up here so you can kind of see. And it kind of goes over, this is the application for these types of forms. So these are all the different registered accounts I was talking about. And you just kind of go through. It's very simple. They do have an online form. You can just click through and do it. But if you want to do the paper version, that's still available. Here they have, self-directed retirement savings plan. Zoom in there. So you just check that, English, French. You would have your account number at this time, so you can put it in. Fill in all of your information. And then you kind of pick out here like the plan type. So our registered savings plan, spousal, LIRA, RIF, all these ones here that we kind of talked about. Normally most people are going to pick the registered savings plan. Depending if you have locked in plans, you have different rules and regulations surrounding those. Fill those in. They will help you fill this in too. If you call them, they will go through and help you fill this out. But it's not too complicated. This is where it kind of talks about this withdrawal information regarding certain types of accounts. Okay, I'm not fluent in these particular accounts. I know of them and how they exist, but it depends on where you're at in life, what your withdrawals and things like that. So I would always suggest you talk to an accountant, tax strategist when you are withdrawing from these accounts to make sure that you're following all the rules and regulations surrounding that. At one point in life, you have to start withdrawing from these accounts. You can't just save them forever. So it's just kind of pretty, it looks like it's pretty intense, but it's not really too bad. And there are fees. So here, a lot of people, they set up a credit card with their account, and they want the fees to come off of their credit card versus coming out of their account. Because if you're using a TFSA, let's say, you want to keep as much money inside that account, tax-free, compounding, growing. So a lot of people just opt to pay them with their MasterCard as opposed to taking it from an account. So you can kind of keep compounding and growing. It's a great way to do it. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else in here. And like I said, this one, there's a little bit of reading with this one. But just kind of understanding some of the information they're talking about in here. It's not too bad, like I said. And I always just call them and I kind of go through it, what they say. So once you get your account set up, I typically don't go through the paper anymore, the paper process, but you can. So tax-free and registered accounts, the education savings plan, non-registered accounts, like I said here. And then we talk about arm's length mortgages. So let's have a little bit of conversation about the rules and regulations surrounding lending on an opportunity. So they talk about arm's length mortgages. An arm's length mortgage is they have non-arm's length and arm's length. Olympia Trust does not deal in non-arm's length. Non-arm's length is when you want to use your own registered funds to invest in a property that you want to buy, or you want to use your families, like your mom's, your dad's, your brother, your sister, spouse, things. You want to use their registered accounts to invest in real estate. There are rules and regulations surrounding it. Those typically have to be go through CMHC to be insured. So there's a lot more red tape around it. And I personally haven't done it. A lot of people know that you can use your registered funds for like your first time home buyers plan, things like that, but you can use it to purchase other properties, but it's a lot of red tape surrounding it, and I haven't done it, and Olympia Trust doesn't actually allow it. So the other option is arm's length mortgages, and that's where the person borrowing and the person lending are not related by blood. They're not immediate family members, and then they're allowed to use their registered funds to invest in another opportunity. So that's kind of what arm's length mortgages is. You can just Google it, look it up. It's pretty straightforward. If you're ever not sure, like the family member relation and what it all looks like, I would call them, talk to them, make sure that, how this lays out. Is it okay? Does it qualify for arm's length mortgage or not? We get a lot of weird questions about that sometimes. And I'm like, I know the basics is this. If you want to get really into it, let's, talk to the professionals and then make sure that they know exactly what the situation is. And here they just have this general information document. This is what I recommend people to kind of read. It's pretty, and they're great to. And here they say basically the following type of mortgages: non-arm's length, collateral demand, promissory notes, chattels, agreements for sale. Here they talk about where two parties know each other. They can't lend with the same terms, things like that. So this is pretty straightforward in here. It's basically just read through it. It's not too complicated at all. If you don't understand anything, just give them a call or let us know, and we can kind of walk you through it as well. But they're pretty straightforward in here of what they're specifying. So essentially, let's just say that we have like an opportunity, Sarah. We have a property that I want to buy, and let's say I want to do a burr on, I want to flip it. And I could go to the bank and get a mortgage, but I can also use private funds, and part of that private funds would be using registered accounts with other lenders. So I would say, hey, Sarah, I have this opportunity for you, and I would like to, and work with you on it. What do you think? So Corey and Tiffany have done a lot of videos on how to vet deals, how to find partners. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but there's a lot of content in this community on that. So by all means, research that. But a few things is just education. Look in the community, look to other people, get referrals, get testimonials, see what kind of people there are, see if they're contributing to the community, all of those kind of things to find those good humans to actually work with. Learn how to do due diligence, vetting the deal, ask the questions you need to feel comfortable and sleep at night. Get to know the lender. Like I said, just try to find somebody in the community that you can, work with. And like I said, know the rules. So arm's length, non-arm's length, that's a few things. So the main thing with registered funds is first thing is set the account, which I showed you the form. You can go through and fill that out, and we're here to help you too. Or there's an online form that's pretty straightforward. Fill out the form. Then it comes time to transfer your funds. So what do you do? Yeah. So this is what we kind of tell people to do, because we've seen this come up. We basically, I would call my institution. Let's say you're with one of the banks, or you're with another financial institution where you're, Manulife or something along those lines. What I typically do is I call them and I say, hey, I want to transfer some funds from here to Olympia Trust. What do I need to do? So I call and I talk to them. I say, put a note on my account saying I'm authorizing, I want to transfer these funds. Because when you go to a bank and say you want to withdraw your money, that's when they become your best friend. Oh, hey, yeah, no, we don't, that's risky. You don't want to do that. We've heard a lot of financial advisors, planners, banks, talk to people, try to talk them out of doing it. So, just be confident in what you're doing, and just say, like, put a note on my account that it's there. I don't want it to be held up. And that's a little tip that's worked for us. And what you would
normally take, Colin?
Pardon me?
How long does it normally take to transfer from the bank to?
It can take a few weeks. We've seen a few months, but there's holdups and hiccups. And this is some of these little tips that I kind of say to kind of streamline that. So in your account, let's say you're holding mutual funds. A lot of people get really scared about a big question is cashing out. I don't want to cash out. You'll trigger a tax event. And yes, you will. So what you want to do is you want to be very clear on what you're doing. So you want to call them and say, and Olympia Trust will do this, but on the form you say, I want to transfer cash in kind over. But there's a little box there to check that I want to move cash over. But you can call your institution ahead of time and say, I would like to know, I want to move my funds or move my investments into a cash position. I'm not taking it out of my RRSP. I'm not taking it out of my TFSA. I'm saying I'm holding a bunch of funds or I'm holding a bunch of stocks. I just want to sell them and leave the cash sitting in the account. And then when you do the transfer to Olympia Trust on the form, it's just going to say, I want to transfer from my institution, and you write your account on that form. There's a transfer form. You write in your account information, how much you want to transfer, cash, the whole thing, 50,000, whatever it is. And then Olympia Trust, you sign it. Olympia Trust is authorized to go to the institution and start the transfer. So having that note on your account, telling them ahead of time it's coming, moving it into a cash position, it all will save time. Because if the Olympia Trust sends a form, that your bank may take a couple of days to sell it, and there'll be some delays. So I always kind of preemptively go ahead and say, let's do this.
And does the bank charge you for that? Like if you?
No, they shouldn't. I can't speak to all banks or institutions. There may be a transaction fee or something, because they all like to get paid as well. We all have to make money. But you can ask that question. I would definitely ask that question. Is there a fee for this? I haven't heard of anybody paying a fee, but there could be fees associated with it. Could be a transfer fee too. So I'll let you you set up your account. You say, hey, I want to have an account with Olympia Trust. I want to have an RRSP account. Great. Now I want to go to my financial institution that's holding it, call them, put a note in the file, say move to a cash position. Fill out the form. Olympia Trust will take a few days to send it. And then what I tell people is it can take a few weeks. And what a lot of people do is they may just call Olympia Trust and see what's going on, or they may call their bank. I suggest call both. We've had people that the holdup was Olympia Trust and the holdup has been the bank, and they haven't been communicated with, and their funds have just been sitting there and they've been missing opportunities, waiting and waiting. So it's really difficult. So I always say wait about 2 weeks and then call Olympia Trust. Say, hey, I just want to know what's going on with this. Has it been processed? Has it been sent to my institution? Call my institution. Hi, have you guys held this up? Is everything okay? Is it going through? Have you received the documents? A lot of them on the form, you can also check like electronic fund transfer. We learned that firsthand when we went through it, and one of our institutions for our children's RESP that we moved over, it was around Christmas, and they sent it in the mail, and it took weeks for us to get it. So we missed investing when we invested into a REIT, and we missed investing in when it actually increased in value in that time. So that was a little annoying. We lost some money. We didn't make as much money as we liked. So that's kind of the first process. You'll get set up with Olympia Trust. You'll set up the account you want to do, and then you'll fill out the forms and inform your bank and inform Olympia Trust and follow up with them and make sure that it's going. So that's perfect. And like I said, just keep following up. A lot of people think, oh, it's fine. Just keep following up. Just keep following up until it gets there. If you have an account and you want to, a lot of people want to move money, they have savings in their checking account. You can just set up Olympia Trust as a bill payment, and just like your cell phone bill or whatever it is you pay, you can set it up, use your account number, and then you can send the money. It takes about 2 business days and it will appear there. that's super fast. But that's if you're not moving from an institution, if you're just moving from your own savings account.
Okay. Yeah. And is there a minimum, Colin? Like I know, like when there's or borrowers looking for money, it's like, we need $100K in registered funds or any.
Okay. You're for an opportunity. So right now, this is just how to get your money into Olympia Trust and whatever you move over there. There are restrictions surrounding that on some people's opportunities, and I'll kind of touch on that. But just to get back to kind of you have your money in Olympia Trust.
Yeah.
What do I do with my money? It's an Olympia Trust. Well, now you need to find an opportunity. This is where all of the due diligence, knowing, liking, being part of the community, finding a property or finding an opportunity to invest in. Or you can invest in major institutions and REITs. A lot of them use trust companies as well. They can facilitate these things as well. And you can actually just go through that. Once you get signed into Olympia Trust, you go into a portal. You can see all of your accounts. You can see what you're invested in. You can go ahead and buy certain REITs and things within there. And there's really no human interaction. You can just go ahead and do that. It's pretty straightforward as well. But let's get into let's just get into exactly what it is to have an opportunity there. So the rules are Olympia Trust. When you do lending through Olympia Trust is actually going to be registered as registered on title for the mortgage. So they're going to be the ones that's on the mortgage. It's not going to say Sarah. It's going to say Olympia Trust, first position, and it may say like account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever your account number is. You may see that. So it's good to know that Olympia Trust will only go up to 3 positions. So they will not let you go 4th, 5th, 6th, or anything beyond. They'll only allow 3 positions, and you'll see that in their forms. It only drops down box to do 3.
Oh, first, second, or third.
First, second, or third. Yeah, that's as far as they'll go. Okay. Now, what do they lend on? So you have to specify. You have to have registered funds have to be secured. There has to be security in the property. So you can't say, I own this property. I have a mortgage and, there's no equity in it. I want to do some renovations. I need $50,000. Can you give me $50,000 of registered funds for this property to be on this property? And it can't be registered against it because there's no equity there. Like if you say you have $20,000 of equity and you need 50, you can only get up to $20,000. So you can go up to 100% loan to value. And what does that mean? Where does the value come from? The value can come from your purchase and sale agreement. The value can come from the city assessment or the municipal assessment. The value can come from doing an appraisal. So typically in like maybe our offerings is we'll buy a property or we'll have an appraisal done and we'll say the property is worth $100,000, let's just say. So I have $100,000 of potential loan to value there, and Olympia Trust will allow you to go up to that 100% if you like. Some borrowers or some lenders may not be comfortable with that, and that's fine. We all have our own lending rules. So, but you can go up to 100% loan to value. You can put them in second and third position. So it has to have equity in the deal. There has to be equity in the property to secure it against.
Yeah.
And then once you have that, then you're allowed to do some lending. So I'm just going to look at a couple of questions here. Some people are asking about, if I don't currently have a TFSA, do I have to set this up with the bank first, or can I do it directly with Olympia Trust? Yes, you can go with Olympia Trust and set up your accounts with them directly. You don't need to open it and transfer. So you can go there today, sign up for an account, say new TFSA account. And the accounts, there is a fee schedule on the website as well. It's $150 for your first registered account. And I think it's $150 a year for your TFSA as well. But then if you have an RRSP or other ones, I think it's $75 an account right now for secondaries and thirds. So no, you don't have to set it up. You can go right with Olympia Trust and set it up. Some people are asking about interest rates and things like that. So it depends on the deal. Everybody's deal is different. Payment schedules are different. You can pay monthly, you can pay balloon. You can do lender fees. All of these are on the forms that when you fill them out to go through. You can put that all in. So it just depends on the deal and how people are structuring it. And you can be as creative as you want to be. So a lot of people,
and they're giving you a better interest rate than what you're getting at the bank.
So yeah, I that's the consensus. You'll get better interest rates. I mean, like I said, I don't know what people are invested in, how their stocks and bonds or mutual funds are doing, but private lending has known to have some pretty good returns. And the nice thing about registered funds is it is secured. When the stock market goes up and down, you win and lose. In this, if you have security on the property, like there is something tangible, a tangible asset there that you're secured against. So if a project goes belly up, if there's a problem or they have to exit early, you do have security and the opportunity to gain, some of your funds back, if not all. Again, it depends on the opportunity and what you're lending on and what you're doing. Just trying to see if there's any other questions here. Just simply transferring my RSPs to Olympia Trust means I'll start making money. So once you transfer your funds to Olympia Trust, it makes very little interest. They pay very little. It does nothing. You have to invest it. It's self-directed. They're not doing it for you, right? If the bank will do it for you and they'll charge their fees and do everything, when you move it to self-directed, you need to find an opportunity to put it in and do that. So just be aware of that.
Well, you don't want your money sitting in there too long. Like,
yeah, and that's part of
chicken or the egg type deal. Like,
and that's part of private lending. It's the time in between the opportunities that you're like, I'm waiting for that extra 2 or 3%, but you may be waiting for 6 months and you just missed 6 months of interest. So again, just review how comfortable you are with lending, what you're looking for. And once you know as a lender what you want, it's really easy to go through the opportunities that are coming to you. And then you can say yes, no, and then further investigate and do your due diligence process. But there is a time between them all that it's really difficult you're not making any money and you're paying fees. So we have an opportunity. We have, hey Sarah, we have an opportunity. We're going to buy this property. It's $200,000. We bought it with we have maybe a conventional mortgage, or we bought it with private funds, and we have $50,000 of equity in there. And you say, well, I have $25,000 I'd like to lend. So we go through the opportunity, and if everything looks good and you're happy and I'm happy, then we proceed. So first thing is at arm's length, non-arm's length, right? We have to make sure we're arm's length mortgage. Are we going to be in first, second, or third position? That's as far as we can go with you for registered funds. You did touch on a good thing regarding costs and minimum investments for people. What happens is it's typically the borrower will pay all of your fees. So I talked about what these I mentioned about fees in Olympia Trust and kind of what that all looks like. So I'll just show you their fee structure, and then you guys can kind of understand where lenders might be coming from in terms of why are they setting minimums and what's going on there. So because there are fees associated with all of this stuff. So on the Olympia Trust website, just go up to the top here, if you can see that. And then there is a fee schedule. And always check this because it's always changing this year. So they'll give you an annual administration, so $150 for the first account. As a borrower, I'm not paying that. That's for you to have your account set up with them. It's just like maybe you pay $5 a month at your bank or $20 a month at your bank. That's the fee to have it. So it's $150 for the first account and $75 for the second. It does not apply to tax-free savings. That's another one for $150. But it's kind of the price you pay, which is a very small price you pay to be able to do these opportunities and lend with your registered funds. Now, when we set up a mortgage, and I'll show you the paperwork for that. There is a $150 purchase fee for that. And then there's going to be a monthly fee of $15. So this will come out of your registered account that you're using to invest in. So if you have $50,000 and you want to invest $50,000, make sure you have your credit card set up on your account. That'll take the fee from. Make sure when you're doing the opportunity with the borrower, because they may or may not be familiar with it, make sure that Olympia Trust knows you have a credit card on there, because we've had deals that have been delayed because they say, oh, there's not enough funds in the account to close because of these fees. And we're like, no, there's a credit card associated with it. And then so it's delayed closing a few times for us. So again, your lawyer has to know and communicate to them that this is what's happening. And then the fees will come off your credit card, or just leave a couple $100 in there just to pay for the fees. We recommend people just do that. Just leave a couple $100 in there to cover the fees for the lending, and then you won't have to worry about it. So just be aware of that. And then when you discharge, there'll be a $75 discharge fee. Now, what we do as borrowers, when we're going to pay you out, we take all these fees and we pay them for you. We just added administration fee onto the payout schedule. So Olympia Trust will say, hey, Colin's lawyer just sent us notice that they're discharging the mortgage. Let's say we flipped the property and sold it. They're discharging the mortgage. Here's the payout schedule. You'll see the payout schedule. It'll be to say, like, this is the amount you've lent. This is the interest rate. This is the, per diem. This is the total amount that's owed. And then we'll say, well, let's add an administration fee of 150 plus, 5 months at 15 plus 75, and the taxes for whatever province you reside in. And we add that on there and pay that back. So that goes back into your account. So we pay that. I can't pay your fees for you because they're your fees in your account, but we do have like an administration fee that we kind of process that way. And when you withdraw, so I know another Ignited member was posting that the other day saying, hey, I just withdrew my money and I paid a fee. Yes, you will pay a fee for taking your money out of these accounts. So just be aware of that, okay? When you're deciding how much you want to take out, make sure you're leaving enough and that you're aware that there's going to be fees associated with it. And the other, so I'll go back to the forms here. So we have an opportunity to the third position. There is equity in the property. Lawyers have to be involved. So you would have a mortgage document drafted up, and then we sign all of our agreements. And then there's these forms that we have to do through Olympia Trust. And again, you can see them all here. We as borrowers, we fill this all out for you, send it to you for review, sign it, and then it goes to our lawyer. It goes to Olympia Trust, and then they process. And then once we're going to do closing on the property or closing on the lending, they will register this mortgage on title in Olympia Trust's name, and it's going to be backed by you. Essentially, you're funding it. And it says here about required documents for funding. So you can read that. It tells you what you're going to need. And then this mortgage investment direction here. This is where people get a little intimidated, to be honest. It has a lot to do with your team. We have a really strong legal team, and we do a lot of these mortgages, and they just know what to look for. We know how to fill them out. So it does take some time to get used to it, but once you get into it, it goes pretty quickly. So this is what we'd fill out. We'd write, Sarah Rotchford, your account type here, and you can just drop down. Oh, you're going to invest with your, RRSP, account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The mortgager, obviously the face value of the mortgage, the loan amount. If you're discounting amount, if you want to give some money back, prepaid interest, the legal description of the property. So this is just 123 Main Street, PID or PAN, like the property assessment number, the tax number, whatever it is you want to use, whatever the is required for you to put it in there. We put in as much information as possible in here. What is the street address of the land? If you want to discount it, so you can discount, this is getting a little more complicated if you want to do it, but you can discount it on there if you want to do that. So you'll say the face value of the mortgage is, $100,000.
Yeah.
The loan amount, $100,000. This is just you as a single person lending. And we kind of go through here, the mortgage position. This is where I talked about first, second, third. Oh, you'll be in first position. We're going to offer you 10%. You can compound the rate. You can do an amortization period here. So you can get a little more complicated with blending it and things like that. We don't typically get into that. We're typically 1 year or under on our mortgages. Okay. Payment frequency here. So this is where you can do annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, whatever you choose. Then you just do the calculation of the interest rate. So if we say, okay, it's going to be annually, 10%. Okay, we're going to put in our how much we're going to be paying you on interest, and then we put our first date and our maturity date, and then our lawyer's name. And they go through here and they describe every aspect of the form. but this is pretty much the form. We fill it all out, and then we send it to you, and you initial it all and go through. Make sure you read it. Have your lawyer go through it if you want. Like we always advise having legal counsel. Fill this all out, and it just goes through all this. So I mean, it'll take a few minutes to read, but for you, I'd read it your first time through. Document, populate what you, and document that is direction form is authorized. Payment plan all out, attach a void check along the documentation here. There you go, mortgage payment authorization form. Fill it all in, and I attach a void check, and this gives them authorization to withdraw directly from my account on the payments. The other thing was people mentioned about syndication. So there has been some rules changed around syndication of mortgages, and I'll just kind of talk a little bit on what that actually means. Syndication means that you have more than one person on the same mortgage. It used to be that you could have multiple people on it that didn't know each other. The rules have changed now where there's been some things that have happened with some investors in Canada on some opportunities. And now they require you that if it's a single person, like you're lending to me, we can do it with our lawyers and go through it, no problem. If it's you and your spouse that are lending or common law, then you're allowed to, maybe you have $50,000 and Pat has 100. You guys could both go together for $150,000 mortgage, and that's fine. I don't have to have a mortgage administrator or broker involved. If it's you and somebody else, or you and 10 other people, then we have to have, I believe if it's 4 or more, you need to have a mortgage broker involved. Otherwise, you can have a mortgage administrator. It just depends on the province that you're in, if they have that or not. So syndication becomes more complicated. And you talked about the minimums that people are offering on registered funds are usually higher. And it's because I'm going to pay your $150. I'm going to pay your $15 a month. I'm going to pay your $75 discharge fee. And let's say that you have $50,000 in if you have $50,000 in RSP, you have $20,000 in RESP, you have $30,000 in TFSA. You can lend that all to me in one mortgage because you're one person, and it all comes from the different accounts that are under your name. But I am going to pay fees 3 times for all of those. I'm going to pay $150 for each one. I'm going to pay $15 a month. I'm going to pay $75 to discharge each of those. So you can see how it can kind of get complicated and get expensive for a borrower, just all the fees if you're using $10,000, $15,000 lens, and it's just going to add up a lot. So that's why,
because the lending fees don't change.
The lending fees, if I lend you, lend me $1 or you lend me $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah. But is there a percentage, Colin? That's one last question that I didn't get answered that I had written down. So RSPs versus TFSAs, like, is there a percentage of how much of each you can lend? If I lend 100,000 in RSPs, and I had, well, I'm not going to have 150 because we haven't reached that level yet. But if I lend 50 in RSPs, can I lend 75 in TFSAs, or is there like? No,
you can. Yeah, you can lend different amounts. You can.
I thought there was a percentage where you couldn't lend more in TFSAs. It had to be RSPs versus lending.
No, if you have if you have 20,000 of our RSP and you have 50,000 of a TFSA and you want to lend me 70,000, you can put them together and lend that.
Okay.
Yeah. There is stuff that was talked about like TFSA Maximizer, which is not really approved by the CRA, I'll say. And that's just a strategy. I'm not going to get into it, but that's a strategy that people were using 2 different styles of accounts to basically almost like not evade taxes, but kind of take advantage of the benefits that these accounts offer and using it in a way that it wasn't really designed for. So just something to think about on that. People are asking, I'm just looking here, like, why invest in mortgages? So, so I talked about kind of the reports that you get every month from your employer or from your banker. Things that can be complicated and stuff. And I mean, it may be clear and you may be fine, and that's no problem. But when I invest in these, we typically do under 1 year. And you can renew. I notice Heather always asking here about renewing. It's just a mortgage renewal document. So when we sign it and we say it's going to be 1 year, when it comes up for renewal, you'll get a notice from Olympia Trust a month or so, maybe a little bit more before it matures. And we can just, no lawyers involved, we can just go and sign a renewal form and then submit it in. And then it'll take a payment, at least one. You have to make at least one interest payment a year. So we'll do a full year payment if we're doing, say, a balloon payment. On the maturity date, it'll take 1 full year of interest payment to you, and it'll be deposited right into your account. And then we can renew and do another balloon payment, or do monthly, and it'll pay out monthly. So the renewal process is very simple. It's just a form to fill out. You've already gone through all the hard work of setting it up initially, and you're just renewing it. So people are talking about why invest in real estate. So it is secured. It has to be secured. So there has to be equity on the property. So you do have that tangible asset that you are secured against. You know what you're going to get. I mean, there's always risk involved in investing, but it's kind of straightforward. Hey, I'm investing for 10%, 8%, 6%, 12%, whatever it is for this term. And it's pretty straightforward in that, and it's not too complicated. I said, just as long as you know who you're investing with and know the property, or know what you're vetting, do due diligence. It's really important. But yeah, I like investing in it because it's on an asset. It's on a piece of property, and we all know what happens to properties. Like, they typically go up over time. And that's why I like to do it, and we like to lend and spread it out. Spread it out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread. If you have 100,000, maybe put 50 here, 50 there, 25, whatever it is, and just explore and see what you're comfortable with, and have a lot of communication. If you're a borrower and a lender, just open communication. Always be available to converse with your lenders and make sure that everybody's happy. But so just to kind of recap, we use Olympia Trust. There are other trust companies out there. That's the one that we're familiar with. So just go on their website, look at the forms, look at the fee schedule, set up an account. New clients, set it up online. Have your paper wherever your funds are at, like in front of you, and then you can just set up a transfer. In a couple of days, when your account number comes in, set up the transfer, call your bank, tell them it's coming, move to a cash position, call Olympia Trust, follow up with both of them, and then the funds will appear. And then start looking for your opportunities. I'll also say sometimes the payment is difficult. It can take a little longer depending on the legal team and things. So a lot of people they want to commit to the second lend. Like, this one's coming due on the 15th of the month, and I need to find an opportunity for the 16th. I advise don't do that. Just in lending in general, delays happen, things can happen, and then you've committed to another project and yours hasn't paid out yet, and you've kind of made it difficult for somebody else you already committed to. We personally, as borrowers, we say, you're ready to commit. We do all the paperwork. We do a letter of intent, as Corey and Tiffany kind of talk about. We ask for like a screenshot showing the funds in the account. We don't borrow funds from people who say it's transferring, it's going to be there. You never really know when it's going to be there. So I always say, show me proof that it's there, and then I know it's there. So that's just a little tidbit of information as well that we've kind of learned the hard way, I'll say, on some opportunities. But is there what percentage of your RSPs are invested in real estate? 100% of our RSPs are invested in real estate. So we've invested in, we're in the States, we're in Canada, we're in the GTA, we're in fellow investors' properties. We're in REITs that do multifamily, that do development. So we are diversified in that. And it's something we'll revisit. We have a LIRA, we have our children's RESPs, and I have RSPs, and we have TFSAs, and we invested all in real estate right now. Well, is that heavy on real estate? Yeah. Will we talk to our financial advisor and figure out maybe a more balanced portfolio of Yeah, we will eventually do it, but right now we're in a growth stage, and this is kind of what we're doing, and we're happy so far. So,
Awesome.
well, thanks for jumping on, Sarah.
Thanks for dumbing it down for me, Colin. You answered all my questions. So, yeah.
Watch again and just send us a message. And if anybody wants to reach out, you can reach us out at info@coasttocoasthomes.ca, and we're happy to help anybody. So, thanks everybody for coming out. We really appreciate it. Love this community. Love everybody here, and just have a wonderful night. And for Igniteds, we'll see you guys over in the night session.
Yay!
Thanks, guys. Take care.